being open with kids early about, being truthful with them, tell them what their strengths and their weaknesses are. I think as long as you're on that level and you can clearly communicate that with them, knowing that you're not mad at them, but this is what you have to work on.
Yes.
If your aspirations are whatever goal it is, to be a starter, to be a next level player, you've got to take that in stride and not worry about it.
Wow.
Thursday,
Wow.
Phil comes in the following week, interviews me and hires me, leaves, goes back to LA. 4 days later, calls me and says, Jeff, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be taking the job at East Central. I'm going to UTEP with Tim Floyd. So I was without a job again. So I was fired, hired, and without a job in 10 days. So that's my claim to fame, though, that I was hired by Phil Johnson.
In the library at Blanchard High School in the city of Blanchard, Oklahoma, with someone that's an awesome individual. And his name is Jeff Word. Coach, Jeff Word. And Coach, I want to thank you for granting me this opportunity to be here with you today.
Sure, it's an honor. Thanks, I appreciate it, Robert.
Well, the honor is all mine to you. Thank you. And you've done some tremendous things in your life, and I knew you when you were assistant coach at East Central University. Like all things, there are many opportunities out there, and we continue to seek other opportunities. As you know, when you're coaching in college, you know how that goes.
Absolutely.
Things change on a regular basis in college basketball. But also to tell everyone a little bit about him. He was born in South Texas. And in 1972, he moved to Lone Grove, Oklahoma, in the county in which I reside in Carter County. Matter of fact, it's about only 7 miles from Ardmore, where I live. And the thing is, to let everyone also know, is that he was an outstanding basketball player. Now, how do I know this? A good friend of mine by the name of Jeff Coleman. He used to coach at Graham High School, and he used to play against you, and he told me about you. And he said that you were a really good player.
That means a lot coming from him.
Well, the thing is, you did it on your own. You worked at it. But tell everyone, you being a former athlete and still in the sport of basketball, how did your transformation come about? Were you always a great athlete, or did you have to work at it, or what?
No, I guess I was one of those blue-collar kind that saw guys that were a lot better than me, that I just had to spend all the extra time to be, comparable or get to that level. I wasn't a basketball player up until around 8th grade. I played baseball, and that was my first love. But as I started playing, I entered a free throw contest and won it. And as I started playing, I fell in love with it, and I played 24/7. Literally, I played 7 days a week, and that's if I could get in the gym or sneak in, that's what I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like all the great athletes when you hear their stories. Very similar to what you just said. How much time you put in, you worked at it.
Right.
And wow, so if there was any information you could tell those youngsters that are watching this right now, or be watching in the future to come, even when we're no longer here on this planet, what could you tell them to make certain that they're improving their game or whatever they want to do?
Well, a couple of things, Robert. I think, one, the determination and the resilience to be better without any outside resource of what you may hear or what you're told. And I heard it a lot as well. You'll never be able to do this, and you'll never be able to do that. But the confidence, in my opinion, is something that no one can take away from you if you condition your mind that way. I think confidence comes from preparation and what you think about all day. You know, a lot of things enter your mind. A lot of bad things can happen to you, successes that don't happen, and you know, you bomb a test, or you know, you're not successful in your job right off or whatever. But if you continue to condition your mind that those things are going to transpire into a positive and success, I think whatever it is you're looking to achieve with a plan, you can do it.
Wow, wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. So tell me this. Now, you're a teacher here. What do you teach?
Here, this year, you know, it changes often. I teach freshman geography.
Daily lesson plans.
Daily lesson plans, yeah, weekly, monthly, fun stuff.
You know,
Prepared, I like to be prepared.
I hate to say this, though, but I'm glad I didn't go into teaching.
Well, it's a lot easier than college on having to get that stuff done.
But now, let me ask you this. So you played high school basketball and baseball.
Right.
And when it was all said and done, when you graduated from high school at Lone Grove, did you get any academic or athletic scholarships?
I did not. You know, I was pretty good there. I wasn't good enough to play college basketball, but it was something that was still in the back of my mind that I thought someday I could do it. And I was going to. I wanted to go to college, and I wanted to coach basketball. Bobby Shelton and Dwayne Godwin. So
Both outstanding players.
absolutely phenomenal players and great men. And so I did, and he told me I could walk on, and they would pay for some things, and it was the greatest day of my life as far as my sporting career was concerned at that time. So I did.
And speaking of your sporting career, you know, you played on an awesome team. I mean, plus not just that, you know, Coach Cobb is a winner in himself.
Right.
You know, he's had nothing but just seems like generations of outstanding, you know, teams really.
Sure.
Now, here you are, you're at East Central University, and playing ball was your motivating factor.
That's
Is
right.
that correct?
That's right.
And so what did you decide to major in, or when did that come about? When did you make that decision on what you wanted to do while you were in college?
I knew what I wanted to do going in, that I wanted to get a bachelor's in education, and I wanted to teach because I wanted to coach basketball. My drive was to be a basketball coach and teacher.
You know, I remember when I was at East Central, Miss Floyd, Billy Floyd, she said, you know, they need to separate coaching and teaching, because coaches go into coaching to coach, not necessarily to teach. But as we know, in the high school and in some college levels, you know, it's just part of the job.
That's right. And you know, my minor was special education.
Go from there.
I was there a year and then went to Dixon High School.
Back to your alma mater.
Close by. Yeah. Close by. That's where I taught special ed for 3 years. I was the assistant my first year. The year before I got there, they had lost 22 games in a row.
Wow.
And my first year there as an assistant, we won 18 games. And then I took over as the head coach, and for 4 years we won 20 plus games.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was probably, besides now, those were probably the most 4 or 5 of the most special years I've ever had was there at Dixon. I really enjoyed it.
You
the kids,
turned the program around.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And speaking of turning the program around, here you are right now in Blanchard. And you've had tremendous success this year.
We did. We really, and it's been up and down. My first year, we won 18 games, and we were a game away from the state tournament. The next year, we lost quite a few kids, and my post kid hurt his foot in football, and that was all before Christmas. We won 4 games. I got everybody back, same crew, and we win 20 games this year and make the state tournament with the same guys.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
So I want everyone to realize here that you are looking at someone, not just an educator, but he is a winner, turning programs around. And I'm glad to know you.
Likewise.
First time I recall really meeting you, you were assistant coach at East Central University. And that's where I got you engraved in my mind at East Central. And I forgot, what was the head coach's name there at the time?
Terry Shannon.
Yes, yes.
Terry, yeah. Yeah, I was fortunate enough and blessed for him to offer me that job. And, you know, like you mentioned earlier, in college, you know, it's about winning. And we'd come off a few years before I got there where they'd won some games, but, you know, we're really not to the point where they wanted to be. And, you know, I'd recruited some good kids in there, some good players. We just didn't get to the point that the administration really wanted us to be at. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't feel like that we should be. And so they decided to make a change. So.
And then where did you go from there?
After East Central, I started my own School of Hoops, skill development there in Long Grove. I did that 2 years. And then I took the Long Grove girls job there for 6 years. And met some great people, you know, which is all, that's what, to me, that's, when I started into coaching, it was all about winning. But as I progressed and got through it a few years, I knew that it was turning into relationships, especially with the kids. And I had developed some great relationships with players and teachers and coaches there as well.
You know, Coach, in today's time, you know, there's a lot of things going on, you know, COVID and how, you know, the mask wearing and the social distancing. And how did that affect your school?
Well, a lot. It's been a rough year. I think on the kids, in talking in terms of athletes, not knowing with the social distancing rules we had, not knowing if you were going to be called in for close contact.
Coach, we got a lot of youngsters out there today, and you know they have aspirations on wanting to, you know, play on high school level. You know, it doesn't matter what sport, because I think the principles of achieving is all the same. And, you know, we have those that have aspirations to hopefully maybe even get an opportunity to play on a college level.
Right.
What can you say for those students that have dreams such as that to help prepare them?
I heard Bill Parcells with a quote. It's one of my favorite quotes, and I have it on every job I've had. I've taken that sign with me. It says, inflexibility is the worst human failing. You can check impetuosity. You can correct laziness with confidence. Excuse me. You can correct fear with confidence, laziness with discipline. It sows the seeds of its own destruction. So, for rigidity of the mind, there is no antidote. And what I take from that is when someone's trying to instruct you and when they're trying to tell you what you need to work on as far as your weaknesses, take that in stride and work on that. Because so many kids nowadays, even with great talent, they take it as a sign of you're either one, mad at them, or you hate them. And they take that home to parents, and you know, parents want to question, you know, why are you upset with my kid, you know, girl or guy? And you know, I think being open with kids early about, you know, being truthful with them, tell them what their strengths and their weaknesses are. I think as long as you're on that level, and you can clearly communicate that with them, knowing that you're not mad at them, but this is what you have to work on.
Yes.
If your aspirations are whatever goal it is, to be a starter, to be a next level player, you've got to take that in stride and not worry about it.
Wow. You know, it's amazing what confidence adds,
Right.
you know, to any individual.
Right.
Even beyond sports. Just being
Absolutely.
confident in something.
Absolutely.
You know, we're in a world and society where people get shot down so much. And as you know, being a coach, and you talked about constructive criticism, you know, getting them to see the things where they're weak at, but also to what they need to work on to progress, to build up on,
Right.
to make them better.
Right.
And once you get any level of success or achievement, or maybe that pat on the back, or that teacher telling them, hey, great job, I see improvement, whatever, boy, you know, that mind starts to crank and the confidence
Absolutely.
develops. And you can do pretty much anything at that point
Absolutely.
because you have that belief, that faith that you know you can.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
You know, Coach, I remember back in my day when my junior high school coach told my high school coach, don't invest your time in him. He's too weak. He's too skinny, too uncoordinated, just doesn't have what it takes. But I had that one guy, Coach Sidney Smith, showed me some varsity guys when I was in the 8th grade and watched them practice. And I just was just blown away. And he told me, he said, Robert, you can do the same thing.
Right.
And he gave me 2 books on the proper techniques of shooting the basketball. And everything he told me to do when I began the 9th grade, my first ball game in the 9th grade, I scored 29 points. True story. And from that point on, I played sophomore year, played on the varsity team. And, you know, back then we couldn't dunk. And I got my
That's right.
boom, first dunk in the game. Crowd went wild. But imagine the confidence that I developed.
Right.
See, I was not confident at all. But then that one person who was a coach, I'm sitting here before you right here today, Coach, because of my former coach.
Right.
So what you're doing and your position is so important and so valuable in so many ways because you take kids that may be less than talented, and then all of a sudden you see some improvement in those kids, and then their whole attitude change.
Right.
The whole body language change. And then you see them go off and from school and become someone greater than I know you hear those, you get those calls, Coach, you get those letters. You have to tell us about
sure.
some of those.
Oh yeah, I've got great friends that, you know, I've coached 20 years ago that are principals or business leaders.
Wow.
And, you know, that's one of the things I wanted to do when I coached was to offer that commitment that they made to me. That was going to be a lifetime for me. Anything they ever needed for me that I could do to help and to stay in contact as long as they wanted. They needed to move. They needed to help moving into their dorm room or moving from one location to another with a job, whatever. And I still stay in contact with a lot of players I coached. And to me, that is, I think it's just an invaluable investment in kids is being able to make those relationships where you've got them forever. And they're great. I've got great friends, guys and girls, that I still talk to today. And, you know, making the state tournament this year, I get a lot of texts and phone calls, but the most special are those players that you coached that call you and congratulate you, man. You never got to do that with them, but it means the world to you when you hear from those guys or they come and watch a game. And that to me is the reward for coaching.
Yes. And they're your biggest fans.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Coach, tell me this. What's next on the horizon for you?
Well, Robert, I don't see myself doing anything but coaching. You know, I've got my master's. This is my second master's in administration. I might get into administration. I don't know.
Principal, superintendent?
No, none. You know, maybe an athletic director or a principal. But it's something that's on the back burner. Nothing I really want to do right now. I just really enjoy coaching, especially here. It's the best job I've ever had.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I tell you what, Coach, I really appreciate you taking, you know, a few minutes out of your day to visit with me and bestow some words of encouragement and valuable wisdom, you know, to the people that'll be watching this. Because this is, you know, social media, it rivals cable television now. And this is going to go out all across the country. And not just that, it's going to live forever. Even when we're no longer here, the words that you just shared is going to be here. They're going to help somebody on this journey of life.
Right.
So
Well, that's great.
As
Well,
Go ahead.
I was going to tell you, at the beginning, and I didn't, but, seeing of all the great speakers you've had, Mr. Benson, and, the story he had at OSU and the Cowboys, and of course Coach Coleman, who I just, I've always admired, and then of course my biggest mentor in the profession, Coach Cobb.
Yes, Wayne Cobb.
I owe so much to him. I've learned so much from him, not necessarily just an X's and O basketball standpoint, but how to handle kids and how to handle a team, But I'm like, why do you want to call me in here? With the accolades they've had, the successful people that you've had, and also Terry Neal.
Mm-hmm.
He was my youth director.
Really?
And yeah, when I was a kid, and I just always thought a lot of him and his brother Lanny. So I was like, man, to me, it's the biggest honor I've ever had to be able to come here and be interviewed by you.
Well,
it really
thank
is,
you.
man. Really is.
By you saying that, it's encouraging. And for me, it's an honor for me just to sit here with you.
Well,
See, I have a saying. We don't know what others see in us,
mm-hmm.
but we do know what we see in them. Think
It's
about
really
that.
good. Yeah.
Yes. And so what I see in you is good. It's positive. That's why I wanted to interview you. And that's why I took the time out to drive all the way up here to Blanchard, Oklahoma, passing through, I didn't go to Norman, but close to Norman, Oklahoma,
Close enough, yeah.
to be here on this day to be with you.
Well,
Because in my mind, you're a great man.
well, I appreciate that.
And,
Really do.
and the world needs to know and see you. And because what you just said can help somebody, and it's going to help somebody. And I thank you for
I
that.
hope so.
Yes. So as we're wrapping up here, Coach, if you have anything on your mind, anything on your heart, I will give you the final word.
Well, again, like I said, it's a privilege to get to come on your show and get to speak a little bit about, the positive nature and of athletics and what motivates me and what I try to use to motivate kids as well. It's a tough world to live in.
Yes.
And just learning the resiliency to be as good as you can possibly be, I think. And even me at 55, I feel like my greatest days are still ahead of me.
Yes.
And I think everyone ought to know that. Their best days are still ahead of them.
I agree 100%. Here I am, retired, and I'm still working.
Absolutely.
And you know what, Coach? It keeps your heart, make you feel young at heart.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
Yes.
It does. It
And
does.
with you with the kids, you're still young. Matter of
Yeah.
fact, you're older than what I thought you were.
Yeah. Well, I always tell her this gray hair is not from coaching, it's from raising daughters. But, but sometimes it is.
Well, I definitely want to thank you once again,
Yeah.
and Godspeed for you, Coach.
Thank you, Robert.
Continue to do what
Appreciate
you're doing because you're an impact. You're making an impact in this world, not
Thank
just
you.
this community, but in this world. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
You betcha. Hi, this is Robert Wilkins again. Just concluded my interview with Jeff Word, the head basketball coach here at Blanchard High School. And he just shared some information with me. I thought I just had to get this on tape. And you have to hear this. I think you'll really enjoy it, especially Phil Johnson.
Well, as we at my last season at East Central, when we were fired, the interview process, Phil Johnson was in the running for it, got the job. I talked to Coach Cobb, and Coach Cobb said that he might be interested in hiring me as his assistant. So I was fired on a Wednesday or Thursday. Phil comes in the following week, interviews me and hires me. Leaves, goes back to LA. 4 days later, calls me and says, Jeff, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be taking the job at East Central. I'm going to UTEP with Tim Floyd. So I was without a job again. So I was fired, hired, and without a job in 10 days. So that's my claim to fame, though, that I was hired by Phil Johnson.